Rahman Rahim. Um, we have been looking at Allama Iqbal's Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam, and yesterday we did this part, but we are going to go back a bit just for the continuity's sake. Okay, so it seems as if the intellect of man is outgrowing its own most fundamental categories: time, space, and causality. The intellect of man is outgrowing its own most fundamental categories. Obviously, he has in mind Einstein's theory of relativity here. But today, for example, the better example would be quantum physics. With the advance of scientific thought, even our concept of intelligibility is undergoing a change. Because of the fact that our intellect is being outgrown by our knowledge in terms of the fundamental concepts we use to understand the world. Okay, so the theory of Einstein has brought a new vision of universe and suggests new ways of looking at the problems common to both religion and Einstein's theory of relativity is especially welcome for people like Iqbal because they thought that Newton's or classical mechanical physics and the classical philosophy which went with it was materialistic and incompatible with religion or less compatible with religion. On the other hand, the vision employed by Einstein's theory of relativity and then quantum physics seems to them more compatible with the religious outlook and less materialistic. Obviously, these are all these are contentions which can be challenged, and we will look at them at some point. The theory of Einstein's has brought a new vision of the universe and suggests new ways of looking at the problems common to both religion and philosophy. No wonder then the younger generation, no wonder, because our knowledge is changing, fundamentally changing. That's why the younger Muslim generation of Islam in Asia and Africa demand a fresh orientation of their faith. Because Islam, the fundamental of Islam or the basic principle of Islam is truth. So if you look at Islamic worldview, its fundamental category is truth. And human knowledge especially the human knowledge which is geared towards the truth is the main vehicle through which we understand Islam, seek its rational justification, and defend Islam. That's what people did in all in different phases of Islamic history. And since there has been a fundamental revolution in human knowledge and the way human knowledge understand the world, we need to revise. So human knowledge, there has been a revolution in human knowledge. So as a consequence of that revolution, we need to relook at or reconstruct our understanding of Islam, its rational justification and its defense, and the tools we use for it. And if there are any apparent or rare incompatibilities with the human knowledge and Islamic belief system, especially the essential Islamic belief system, then that must be resolved. We can't say like other religion that we believe in something in spite of human knowledge. Human knowledge is fallible. Islamic belief system is infallible, but our understanding of Islamic belief system is fallible itself. So that's why we always need to revise it so that we understand Islam in the light of the best possible evidence, humanly possible evidence. And through this, and this is one of the miracles of Islam, that it passes the test of every new phase of human knowledge. But at the same time, human knowledge in its basic orientation is also judged by Islamic belief system in turn. So for those reasons, it is understandable that Muslims, or especially the new generation of Muslims, was seeking a new ilm al-kalam in that sense, a new way of understanding Islam, a new way of justifying Islam, and a new way of defending Islam without compromising the fundamentals of Islamic belief system, but also without compromising our basic allegiance to the truth. Because our allegiance to Islam is based on the truth. We believe in Islam not because we were born in Muslim families, but we believe in Islam because we believe it to be the truth. So that's what Iqbal is saying here, and I think that's understandable. So there are a few things here. So we need to examine with independent spirit the European thought, and then and how far the conclusion, and then see how far after that re-examination. So that's very important. Okay, let's look at this. So we need to do a few things, but in a sequence. Sequence is very important here. So European thought, because that's where revolution is happening at the moment. So what we can't do is to accept it blindly, as some Muslims were doing. Pro-imperialists and modernists. So that's the wrong way to go. And we can't reject it offhand without examining. And that's what many, for the lack of a better term, traditionalists were doing. And obviously these claims are general claims. They have always exceptions. So as in Arabic we say, these are itlaqat, but they are all needs to be, determined and specified. You can't just. So we make these general claims because they are, in general, they are, a good description of the situation, but that doesn't mean that there's no exceptions. There are important exceptions to both of these. So Allama Iqbal is proposing here the third way, and that's why we consider ourselves, despite criticizing Allama Iqbal, as his followers, because what he is saying is the third way, not the Tony Blair's third way, but Hobsbawm's third way. But third way here is to critically examine with independent discipline the European thought, European philosophy, European science, and the purpose is to then deconstruct that thought and see from the independent critical viewpoint what is valid in it, what is invalid in terms of individual proposition, theories, and structures, and then deconstruct that structure. And after deconstructing, take those individual proposition and individual theories and see what is valid in them and what is invalid from Islamic perspective. And after we have done this, after this deconstruction, and differentiating valid from invalid, then we see, in the light of this valid part of that tradition, have a new look at the essential Islamic beliefs, and see if we need to revise and, if necessary, reconstruct our traditional ilmul kalam in three crucial aspects at least. If we need to revise or reconstruct our rational understanding of Islam, our justifications, and our tools for defending Islam. And with that, we need to obviously question the Greek heritage of Islamic ilm al-kalam and see what is still valid in it and keep it, and take out the invalid parts, and then take valid parts from here and here and here, and from this material reconstruct a new ilm al-kalam, which is a continuation of the old ilm al-kalam, but also its enrichment and making it relevant to the change circumstances. So that's the project of reconstruction, and we basically in principle agree with this project of reconstruction in this very specific. And that's why reconstruction of religious thought in Islam here is important, the book or the lectures, because of this methodology, this general outlook, and not for the specific results of it, is first cursory examples. Okay, and this work is needed essentially because of the inner demand of Islam itself. Of the Quran itself. Because Quran, among other things, says that سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم. We will show them, we will in the future, and we will continue to show them our signs in cosmos and in their own inner psychological world, in such a way that it will become clear to them حتى يتبين لكم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق من ربهم, that this Islam, this Quran is the truth from their Lord. So that's the basic motivation comes from within Islamic ethos itself. Okay, but there's a second reason as well, and that's part of Ilm al-Kalam of third, to defend Islam against the competing anti-Islamic worldviews. Because if we don't do that, the charm of European thought as it is in all its anti-Islamic and anti-religious outlook, it will overwhelm the Muslim population, especially the youth. So we need it also to defend Islam against the internal criticism, internal anti-religious movements which have arisen because of the influence of the European thought during the imperialist era. And that's what Iqbal refers to here after this point. He refers to these anti-Islamic trends in the Islamic world, which are spearheaded by, people who are born into the Muslim families. Besides, this is not possible. It is not possible to ignore. So it's, even if we ignore the Islam's own ethos, which demand us that we treat all other thoughts critically and respectfully, and judge them according to their merit because of its influence on Islamic populations, Muslim populations. The whole anti-Islamic and anti-religious movement has emerged within the Islamic population itself, especially spearheaded by born Muslims and especially youth, and it is affecting the youth, which is putting all our allegiance to Islam in jeopardy. So that demands that we take notice of it. Besides, this is not possible to ignore generally anti-religious and especially anti-Islamic propaganda in Central Asia, which has already crossed the Indian frontier. And this propaganda can be challenged only through the method we have just mentioned, through critically evaluating the European thought and revising the Islamic theological thought. Some of the apostles of this movement are born Muslim, and one of them, Tawfiq Fikrit. Tawfiq and Tawfiq is the same thing. It's Tawfiq, but Turks, that's how Turks pronounce it, like wow is there in Turkish. The Turkish poet who died not a long time ago. And obviously Turkey was at the time, the center of the Islamic Khilafat. So what was happening there was of global influence for Muslims. So Tawfiq, Tawfiq himself is not any important figure, but it's just Allama Iqbal is alluding to him as a way to alluding the whole anti-religious movement in Turkey and other parts of the Muslim world, especially Turkey and Egypt and other parts. The Turkish who died only a short time ago. I don't know whether he's actually Turk, because a lot of people who were at the head of the anti-religious movement and even Turkish nationalism, at least some of them were not even Turks. So, the Turkish poet who died only a short time ago has gone to the extent of using a great poet thinker, Mirza Abdul Qadir Bedil. Ava he means like Indian, but obviously Afghanis would beg to differ. Mirza Abdul Qadir Bedil of Akbarabad for the purposes of this movement. That's surely so. How can we defend Islam against this movement, anti-religious movement which has emerged from within? We can do it only through going through those two steps. First, critically evaluating the Western thought, and then revising the Muslim theology so it is better equipped to rationally justify Islam and propagate Islam in a way which is up to the standards of the new forms of knowledge which have arisen, and then critically evaluate that knowledge, obviously, and rationally defend Islam according to the new tools which are available. Okay, surely it is high time to look at the essentials of Islam with the view of presenting them according to the best parts of the contemporary human knowledge. In these lectures, so that's what he's going to try in these lectures. Okay, so that's a good point to stop today. Okay, thank you.